fish. Just gorgeous, isn't it? In this case, the subject is Lujanus capicanus, aka the northern red snapper, the only variety of snapper that can be legally labeled simply as red snapper in the United States. Now, a fish like this, in my opinion, is at its best when served whole. It's cooked simply and delivered in its entirety to be collectively consumed, preferably by fingers alone. I mean, mouths, but via fingers. Of course, I realize that cooking a whole fish, any whole fish, can be intimidating, especially if you haven't done it a lot. After all, I mean, it's looking right at you. It's daring you, questioning your skills, perhaps judging you, probably judging you. I know I would. So, when facing such a critter, it's normal to feel a spot of pressure, And so the first thing we need to do right up front is to consider our cooking options very carefully. The grill. Rustic, romantic, potentially delicious, but also potentially hazardous because look, whole fish are just so gosh darn easy to overcook. They can split. They can just burst into flames. And even if they don't, their skin is notorious for fusing onto grill grates. So nice, but not today. Say, what about a deep fat fry, huh? I mean, that's delicious, but this is really risky. You'd have to batter the whole fish to protect the skin from blistering. And seriously, the service to mass ratio is just all wrong here. The outside's gonna burn before the inside's done. Besides, it would end up looking like a deep sea crouton. Not that that sounds terrible, but it is really hard to carve at the table. So, how about the broiler? I mean, it's not as tricky to control as the grill, right? But it's still really easy to overcook the higher parts of the skin that are closer to the broiler. And you're gonna have to turn the fish over several times. There's just gotta be another option, a better option. I mean, why not just roast it in the oven, huh? I mean, it should be the simplest thing in the world, but let's just talk about what really goes on in here. I mean, the box, regardless of the heat source, it gets hot. Right? And then two things happen. The heat travels as radiant energy from the walls, floor, and ceiling to the food. And then there's air convection, the actual movement of hot energized air molecules. Now, when these two energy forms make contact with the target food, the heat penetrates, from the surface in via conduction. Now, it seems cozy and traditional and perfectly fraught with issues. I mean, even if we could just count on the radiation to get the job done, the convection takes a vital hostage in the form of moisture. And when it comes to cooking fish, we kind of want to maintain as much of that moisture as we can. So ideally, we require, an enclosure of some type. Oh, sorry. More specifically, we require a vessel that can take the heat of the oven, slow it down, gently dose it out evenly to our fish, while of course restricting convective contact. This means the vessel ideally would conform as close as possible to the shape of the fish. And I don't really have anything, shaped like a red snapper in here. Of course, I know what you're thinking, because I've already thought it. What if we just wrapped it in a few layers of aluminum foil, right? That would certainly tightly entomb the fish. But remember, aluminum is a very efficient heat conductor. So although it can prevent convective contact and hold moisture in, it doesn't slow heat down really at all. Now, ideally, we need something that fits like foil, just made of something insulative. Maybe something even a little porous, because that would allow us to introduce more moisture if we wanted to. Mineral-based would be nice, like ceramic, right? For insulative properties. But whatever it is, I don't have it. But I know that we can build it. We just need a little bit of mortar. No, not a hard bowl-shaped container in which substances are crushed or ground into powder using a tool called a pestle, nor a short-barreled cannon used to fire shells at high angles for short distances. No, I refer to a workable paste used to bind, building blocks together, things like brick, stones, things like that. Typically, that would be a mixture of sand, water, and cement, but we can also produce one a little more appropriate to our edible mission from mere kosher salt, egg whites, and water. So, join me, kids. We are going to build Snapperdome. One fish enters, 4 meals leave, depending on how hungry you are. But before we build, we trim. Step 1, crank your hot box to 450 degrees, roast or bake, doesn't matter. Now, as you can see, our snapper has already been nicely and professionally drawn, meaning that it has been eviscerated. Scaled gills have been removed. Now, if the head and the fins were also gone, then this fish would be dressed, but they're there, so it's not. Now, since these fins are really kind of just in the way, I am going to trim them all off. And this is absolutely a job for a pair of shears here. And I'm going to start with, let's say we'll do the pectoral fin here on this side. There we go. And then this is the ventral fin, also sometimes called the pelvic fin. We'll go back here and snap off the anal fin. Really? Children. All right. I'm going to trim the tail, the caudal fin, because it's not going to fit on a pan this way. And then we must deal with the dorsal fin, which, as you can see, contains a nasty array of sharp spikes that would love nothing more than to avenge their owner's demise by impaling your fingers. So do be careful. I typically hold this with just a side towel or a paper towel, and I cut from the back moving up. It's just easier to get into each one of the joints of the fin. Nasty stuff. Okay, now flip and just get the other two side fins, being the pectoral and the other side. Okay, good. Now, even though this fish was weighed at the store, I am going to weigh it again now that it has been trimmed. And I can see we're at 1,161 grams, just shy of 1.2 kilos. Now, why do I need to know this? Because I'm going to calculate the amount of building supplies that are required to construct our dome. But first, we stuff. Yeah, I know, I've always said stuffing is evil. That's poultry. Fish are different, okay? So a few lemon slices, you just get one up into the head here, maybe 5 or 6, and fresh herbs. We're gonna go with parsley and tarragon. And that flavor and moisture is going to do a lot here. And it's also gonna lift the belly up into a natural position, like where it was before all its guts got ripped out. All right, fine. You wait right here. I'll be right back. We're going to mix our mortar. Okay, so, get yourself a calculator. Well, I need it. My rule of thumb is that I want the weight of the mortar to exceed that of the fish by a factor of 1.5. So 1,161 grams times 1.5, 1,740. All right, or slightly rounded. Okay, furthermore, I want the composure of the mortar to be 85% kosher salt. So that's 1,480 grams, okay, which is the same as a 3-pound box, because that's 3 pounds, 1,360 grams plus 120 grams, which I'll easily harvest from any number of salt cellars that I have on hand. Okay, also, for each pound of salt, I want a tablespoon of dry herbs. In this case, we'll be using oregano, tarragon, and rosemary, because why not? All right, now, will these herbs contribute to the flavor of the dish? No, sir, they will not. Not one damn bit, okay? Once they hydrate and warm, however, they will emit a darned pleasant aroma. And as the dish cooks, said aroma will permeate the kitchen and cover up any and all fishy smells, which my wife hates so much that she typically forbids fish be cooked inside the house. So think of this as heat-activated potpourri, nothing more. Leave it out? I'll allow it. All right, returning to structural matters. The egg whites, which we require more for protein content, will comprise 5% of the total, so 87 grams. How convenient, since that's exactly the weight of 3 large egg whites. And then is water, 10%. So we'll say 170 grams. Convenient, 6 ounces, or 3/4 of a cup, okay? So we get everything else in. Now, I just like to use my hand for this because I actually want to feel how it comes together, okay? And you'll notice I save out about 1 ounce of the liquid because, to be honest, every box of kosher salt is different. We'll get into why later on, but I can see that I'm going to need that. And there we go. When it is correct, it's going to be kind of like, you ever been to the beach? You ever squeeze some wet sand or look, just squeeze it in your hand, let go. And if it holds its shape, but then releases when you poke it, you're good to go. And this is good to go. Time to build our platform. We're going to need another half sheet pan. And look, I just happen to have another half sheet pan. By the way, they call them half sheet pans because there is such a thing as a whole sheet pan that's actually the size of 2 of these. Too big for anything in my kitchen, but you see them a lot in restaurants and professional bake shops. Okay, parchment paper, just gonna make cleanup a heck of a lot easier. Okay, I mean, you don't have to have it, but trust me, you want to. So 1/3 of the mortar mixture goes down. I'm just gonna eyeball it. I'm not gonna weigh it. I know you expect me to. I'm not going to. I'm just gonna eyeball it. And what we're looking for here is that our platform, we want to be surrounded by at least 1/2 inch and no more than 3/4. No, that's not true. I don't mind at least 1/2 inch of the mortar. Okay, so I'm just getting this bed down and make sure that as much air is out of that, as possible. And that looks about the right size. You don't have to measure it. That looks like 1/2 inch. But before the fish goes down, we must apply a wee bit of lube. Let's get my brush here. It's not a lot, just enough we want to keep the salt from really adhering. And it's also going to provide a little bit of a barrier against too much interaction between the salt and the fish. The salt is going to season the fish. We don't want to overdo it. And this will just make dealing with things a lot easier. Just a very, very, very light bit of oil. And I don't care what kind you use. Okay, so this is the side that's now going to go down. So finagle this guy over. There, our platform looks good. Maybe could use a little bit more under there. Okay, now we start to add on the top part of the dome, and I usually just do this in like maybe 3 to 4 additions. Get everything down, spread it out. There we go. It's kind of fun. You can kind of turn things, craft it, really feel it, smooth it, pack it. You don't want any air in there. You want to make sure that you've got good adhesion. Don't give it CPR, you break things. But you can put a little bit of pressure on it. There. Now that looks good. And yes, we have used all but, a couple of thimblefuls of the mortar. The last thing I want to do here is we want to get this fish to 130 degrees internal temperature, which is not done, but there's going to be enough thermal load here in the salt for carrying over the heat. So if we bring it to 130 degrees, that means we'll be able to coast up to 150 degrees. Now, my favorite tool for kind of keeping an eye on our thermal destination and how quickly we arrive is a probe style thermometer. If you do not have a remote probe thermometer, you should have one in your arsenal, absolutely. My favorite is just a very little simple model. This is called a DOT. It's made by a company called ThermoWorks. And it's very simple. It only has one outlet for a probe. And the probe that I'm going to be using is a little needle probe. It's a very skinny little probe, just like a needle, because I just don't really want to go poking a big hole in this fish if I don't have to. And this is nice, kind of hide it in there. And I'm going to set this for 130 degrees. 130 degrees. And I'm just going to take my finger where I think the head is and reach down and kind of feel over to the end of that hard head plate. Then go about 1/2 inch and insert the needle at about a 45-degree angle, headed back towards the back end of the fish. That'll ensure that we're in a nice thick area. And then we just kind of patch it up, patch around it. It doesn't care. Fish certainly doesn't care. And his eyes are covered now, so he can't look at me with that judgy, I fixed you now. Okay. The oven is at 450. We cook. There we go. Now, you want to make sure that you place this in the lower third of your oven and try to get it all the way to the back. We are not going to be turning this during the cook. Just to get my, my thermometer wired up here. I'll be back. Now, since we've got a little bit of time on our hands, let's talk about kosher salt, or more correctly, kosher ring salts, as they're actually named for the koshering process, pulling blood out of meat, not because they're kosher certified, though many are. Now, kosher salts are traditionally formed either by boiling down seawater that's been left to evaporate in shallow brine ponds, or by boiling down a brine that's formed by dissolving mined salt in water. All salts, technically sea salt, as even salt mines in the ground were once seabeds. Now, in any case, when the salt concentration of the brine is high enough, crystals will form on the surface of the pan. If the process is carefully controlled, those crystals will look like this, look like little hollow pyramids. These are called hopper crystals. Okay, now this particular sample is an artisanal salt from England called Malden, where they take very great care in preserving these big shapes. Most of the salt, ooh, that's nice. Most of the salt in this kitchen is diamond crystal kosher salt, not paid to say so. They also evaporate their crystals into being, but then they crush them for relative uniformity. As you see, the flakes, though small, are still highly irregular, flaky, translucent, and I think pleasantly crunchy. They're also easy to pinch between the fingers and sprinkle. Morton's kosher salt, on the other hand, now they create their crystals, or so I'm told, through a vacuum process, and then they compact the crystals into flakes, which are opaque and kind of rock-like. And to my taste, unpleasantly hard. You can see them. They look like stones to me. Now, both are sodium chloride, okay, but very, very different in character in the way they feel and act. This difference also means that any given weight of diamond crystal takes up more space than the same weight of Morton's. If you don't believe me, these are both 3-pound bags. Boxes. They're boxes. End of lecture. And now, time to rest. I'm gonna let this just sit and think about what it's done for probably about 20 minutes, during which time I expect the temperature is going to cruise upward of 155 degrees. There's a good bit of thermal load still in here, so I'm gonna keep an eye on this. Not that I can really do anything about it. You can't go in there until, the salt's cooled down enough to, well, you'll see. I'll be back. We're ready. The fish has rested about 20 minutes, and I'm going to note that it peaked out at 158 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfectly fine. A little warmer than I might have liked, but I'm not worried about it. All right, so carefully pulling out the probe. Extract the probe. Okay, I got to wash that. Now, I also want to get this trivet out of here. Trivets. And we contemplate the cutting. Now, you saw I have a, this is serrated knife, which was really kind of the tool to use. And I used to take this all off and then take the fish out. So I'm just going to serve it like this. This is going to be like finger food. That's how I'm looking at this. So I'm just going to kind of turn it, and I'm going to pick a line that I think is right at where the fish is kind of cuts back in. And I'm just gonna saw saw away. And I don't have to saw all the way through. In fact, I don't want to. I just want to get it to the point that I know I can crack it and hopefully remove it in one place. So this is more scoring than anything else. Here, and then I'll turn it and come up the other way. I see some cracks. The whole point of using the egg white, remember, was to make this dome really set like this. If you didn't use that, if you decided to just use water, and some people do, then this would just come off in big crumbles. I don't think that makes for a very nice presentation, do you? So I'm just gonna score around a little more. Salt is still warm, but by no means hot. And then I'm just gonna try to someone that works here said the other day, it's like taking off the top of someone's skull. How would you know that? Don't. It is like taking off the top of someone's skull. Ha! Never would have known. All right, it didn't break quite as cleanly as I would have liked. I'm gonna have to take off a couple of pieces. There we go. Now, I kind of like the idea of just bringing it to the table like this. And it's loose. So what I'm going to do is going to brush off some of the extra salt. It's like an archaeological dig. It can be like Indiana Jones. So what do we do at this point? Now, if I wanted to cut off the fillets, I would cut off the fillets. I don't want to cut off the fillets because I want to kind of preserve this. We could peel off the skin. Do we want to? You know what? I don't want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just cut a line right behind the gill plate, right? We'll kind of push that up so we can see the aromatics. There is amazing meat in here. This is a cheek. I'll eat that later. And just to make this easy on everyone, we'll cut down behind that plate. And I'm just using, you don't have to use a special knife, something relatively narrow and something sharp. I'm gonna cut as cleanly as I can down the spine line. You can feel those bones. Rest assured, no matter what you do in cutting this, you're gonna have to watch out for bones. There's no, with a snapper, any member of this family, in fact, there is no miracle for getting out all of the bones, no matter how good you are. So you're just gonna have to warn people. And if you want to, you can put another incision right down through there. And then I'm just going to try, see what happens. I just cut the skin of the tail and see if I can just kind of peel that off. Dogs kill for this. I could literally throw this into the middle of the living room or the kitchen, and my dogs would fight to the death for that skin. Or you can save it and toast it in your toaster oven, and it becomes a delightful snack. This is being a little finicky here at the back. I'll just leave that. Sticky stuff, a lot of connective tissue, a lot of collagen got broken down. And I'm gonna try to do the same thing here. Bring it to the table just freaking like this. I typically let everybody have a spoon or even just a butter knife and let them kind of scoop it off. As for serving with a sauce, we've concocted a thing here that at Brain Food Industries that we like. I haven't learned it yet. Oh yeah, this is two tablespoons of mirin, 6 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice, and 2 teaspoons of Cholula hot sauce. Now, I would tell you that you can use whatever hot sauce you please, but don't. We really think the Cholula is the play. Now, I like to just dip, just tear off pieces and dip, or if you like, you may paint that on, as long as you know everybody wants some, but they're gonna want more. There we go. Remember, watch for bones. And of course, when you eat out the top, you'll be able to just simply lift out the skeleton without any problems. Oh, you want to see that part? No. You'll have to tune in for another show. I'm going to take my time with this because I've earned it. See you next time on Alton Brown Cooks Food. And he eats most of it alone. It's a cinch. But you're not going to go till I pull out the skeleton, are you? Okay, fine. Look, when you've got all the meat scooped up, and I haven't eaten it all yet, but I'm going to, you just cut away the skin on the other side from the tail. Swim, little fishy, swim. You were good. Okay, go home.